as Debbie said, my name is Dee Dellenbach. I'm running for clerk treasurer. Some of you may have met my husband, Wally. We've been married for 31 years, and I feel very blessed in that. I work for the Tippecanoe County Court System, Superior Court 6. We handle between 9,000 and 10,000 cases a year. On any given Monday, we handle between 80 and 120 defendants in our courtroom. This past Monday, we had 160 defendants in our courtroom, and we produce an order or an entry for every single one of those. The rest of the week is slightly less busy. It's a fast-paced, demanding job. It's a great challenge. As a court reporter, I listen to court hearings, I make notes, and when the session is over, I'm back in the office writing court orders for the judge's approval, and then he signs them. It's a job that requires a lot of communication and a lot of back and forth, a lot of follow-up. Also, I do a lot of research on the state databases, including the BMV, in order to write orders to suspend licenses. I've worked for the Indiana Department of Workforce Development, and I managed a grant. The grant was intended for education and training. Most of the training was certification, that is short-term training that was designed to get people through the training into the workforce and into a job that paid higher than a minimum wage. I spent most of my day interviewing candidates and sort of giving them a battery of tests and then assessing whether they would be good candidates that would actually go to the training, finish the training, and get their certification. Once they got their certification, then I helped them become employed.
Do you want to say why you're running for this office?
Why am I running? Well, how much time do we have? I am running, number one, because I think that Delphi, the people of Delphi deserve terrific customer service. Now, I have a feeling that the ladies who are working in the clerk's office right now are probably pretty terrific, and I'd like them to make them even better. What I would like to do is, I would like residents in Delphi to know that when they walk into their clerk's treasurer's office, they're going to be treated with the respect that they are due. Not only the respect that they are due, but they'll be treated cordially and kindly and courteously. And I have a feeling that all of that is probably going on right now. And what I'd like to do on top of that is to make it an office that's friendly. Why friendly? Because I believe that there's a little buzzword going on right now, and it's transparency in government. And I would like to see that residents of Delphi have easy access to all of their public documents. And not only easy access, but that the documents should be readily accessible, that is readable, to the layperson. Not someone who has necessarily just a law degree or an accounting degree, but that these documents should be accessible to everyone, readily readable. And so I'd like to create a clerk's office that develops a reputation for excellence in customer service.
Leanne?
Okay, yeah. I am Leanne Aldrich, and I am so glad that all of you didn't do a mass exodus. I was the firstborn of Jack and Carly Walters, hard-working, middle-class people. And that work ethic they installed in all three of their children. I, in turn, turned around and had two sons that I raised in this community in the same way. And I am proud to say they're both successful. They're both extremely hardworking. The thing I don't like is they're not a part of our community anymore. And I would like to see them at some point in time back here. In 2009, the clerk treasurer at the city of Delphi resigned. And in 2009, the Democrat caucus, which Roger just left, he was one that evaporated. I applied for it and was appointed the clerk treasurer. And then since I've had to run for office. When I stepped into the office, I had a lot of bookkeeping in my background, but nothing prepared me for what it took to run a clerk's office. The bookkeeping that you do is extremely extensive, but the checkbooks have to balance with your software system. And sometimes that's not the easiest thing in the world to do or accomplish, but we have done so. When we came to the clerk's treasurer's office, at that time, State Board had had 5 very bad audits in a row, and had insinuated or stated that if it didn't get cleaned up, they were stepping in to take over the city of Delphi's records. I thought with extra time we could get it straightened out in a few months, but you couldn't. There were some accounts, some banks, that were off from their funds up to $40,000 and $50,000. So we had to carry that balance to that for a whole year before State Board would let us make the adjustments. It was not that money was missing. Let's not hear that rumor tomorrow. The problem was that it was insufficient records that never matched up. So we cleaned it up, and we've continued to keep it that way. And we have operated that office under stress with, at one point in time, when we were doing stellar, 16 grants on the table at one time. And the records were good. The last several audits that we have had with the State Board, the State Board has complimented our office and praised our office for the work we do with the staff that we have. They had, for example, a city, comparable population and taxes, and they had 7 women working in that office. Where in our office, we have me, and we have 2 full-time girls, and we have a part-time girl. So there's a big difference in numbers, and yet we're able to maintain it.
What do you think your biggest challenge is as an incumbent if you are elected, and as someone who is just stepping into that office elected? What would be next year? What would be your biggest challenge?
Well, the biggest challenge is in this position, you never stop learning. We were remarking just the other day, we've had 2 notifications from the state. Probably 25 years ago, the state Board of Accounts decided all capital inventories would be done on buyer base. So that's the way we've operated. We have now been informed that in 2020, we're going back to depreciation. So you're now going to have to go back into your capital assets ledger accounts. You have to take everything out, put it back in, and put it in a depreciation schedule. Indiana Department of Revenue has decided that in 2020, everything that we have been doing for a long time with certain forms are now changing. So a whole new system will be implemented, and we'll have to utilize that, which is fine. It is just that it never stays the same in that office. It changes constantly. There is no way that anyone can ever say they know that job inside out. At one point in time, I had to explain to the council that I had made a mistake. Not one of my girls, I had. Now keep in mind, even if my girls make a mistake, it is my mistake. But I had made one. And one of my council members said, I can't imagine, I thought you walked on water. Well, I don't. No one does in that job, because I don't care how careful you try to be. rules change, the atmosphere changes, you have to be on top. So that's the biggest challenge any clerk faces.
Dee, what do you think your largest challenge is?
I think that the greatest challenge for almost any supervisor of a staff of people is the challenge of leadership. So what's a great leader? A leader is a coach, a cheerleader, a resource, a servant. It's someone who inspires in other people self-confidence. Why is that important? That's important because the people and the staff of the clerk's office are the most important resource that the city office has, is the staff. So how does one create confidence? How does one help other people have confidence in themselves? Well, one terrific way is when the manager takes time to train her staff, and training should be ongoing. There should be cross-training, evaluation, retraining. Training should be constant almost. And when a manager takes time to train her staff, that gives her an opportunity to praise her staff when they do the task right. That praise builds in people self-confidence in their job. Hopefully, it also builds and encourages that person to take ownership of her job. When that happens, people come up with solutions, creative ideas, to solve the problems of the office rather than becoming stymied or bogged down. And that's why I think that part of leadership is just enabling people to do a terrific job, and hopefully that job satisfaction that is engendered in the staff member, hopefully that leads to a greater job satisfaction and higher staff retention. That's the hope that I would have. I'd also like to create a climate where ideas are shared freely. So for example, when you sit and brainstorm, and when people have, when they feel like they have some control over their environment, some control over their work environment, and some control over the decisions that are made in an office, that also encourages people to own their job, and again, to come up with creative solutions for the problems in the office.
Can I say something back?
Sure.
A lot of you that come in and out of your water bills would recognize two of our city employees sitting here, and that's Tanya and Donna. Donna helped me out 20 plus years as a billing clerk. Tanya has been in the process and since last September being trained and runs the bookkeeping and the payroll. Here's your bonus. Both of those girls can do each other's job. When you have a small office, as ours, with two girls, they have to be able to do each other's jobs. They have been cross-trained, and both of them do them quite well. Donna leaves on vacation for a week. Invoice Cloud, which is not an easy system to work with, Tanya can handle it. It goes on, it's smooth. It doesn't pile up and wait for Donna to come back. It is handled through cross-training, which we've done in our office. It's hard.
And kind of piggybacking on that, you say you have 3 people in your office, and others have 7. Why don't you have more? And we can talk about the state board of accounts and the internal controls.
Well, because
that
we're
kind of
Delphi.
thing.
We've operated that way for how many years?
Uh-huh.
How many years has that clerk's office had a clerk and 2 employees?
Yeah.
So we operate that way. Can we operate that way? Sure we can. And why do we operate that way? Because I spend a lot of hours that are not within the daylight hours that my girls work. I spend a lot of hours up there. I spend weekends up there. Shane and I laughed one time, Mayor Evans and I laughed one time. Because if you sat down and figured what you're paying us an hour for the hours we put in, you're not paying us, people. I would be on welfare. But because I don't have a husband at home and my children are grown, they're gone from home. The city is my other family. I have the time to do it. So we've continued on that same thing. You, of all people, know that under the time I've been here was the first time we ever had overtime in my office that I could offer the girls, and the very first time we ever had a part-time position to help me out. That's a big step for us.
Do you need another person?
There are times, yes, and then there are times, no. But another part-time person eventually would probably be extremely beneficial.
Dee, how do you see you staffing the office if you were elected?
So, a few weeks ago, I was offered an opinion by someone who said there should be one staff person for each department. Actually, not quite one person for each department. So since there are 5 departments, there may be 4 staff or 4 staff and a part-timer. I don't know the answer to that question, and so that if I'm elected, what I would do is, I think I would sit down with each of the staff members and begin to learn their jobs, and probably do a time study and see how often do they feel they need to work over. Is it a lot? Is it a little? Is it none at all? And get an idea of how many hours are needed. Just a time study.
Who has a question?
A non-city resident, taxpayer.
You'll want to say.
Tom Broder, yeah. Does anybody know, the budget for operating the clerk office? Is there a,
Sure, we have an established budget, we have to.
I didn't know.
That would be required. We're part of the general. We're part of the general fund. When we speak about the general fund, we speak about the mayor's office, we speak about the administration office, which Marilyn McKnight has run, handles all of our rentals and everything. We speak about the street department, the police department, the parks department, which we've now combined the street and parks department, and the clerk's office. It's all part of our general fund. So every bit of that is budgeted. We're budgeted for wages, we're budgeted for benefits, office supply, you name it, it's in our budget, and we operate on that budget.
How much is that budget, do you know?
I knew you were gonna do that to me, and with all the numbers I have in my head right now, no.
Yeah.
We increased my budget this year. I thought we did 2,000. I think I'm thinking we're around $60,000 now in the clerk's office, but I could be. Debbie, we just went through
I know.
budget meetings, don't do that to me.
And I usually look at those things when I'm in it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about the budget and anything? Are you familiar with budgets?
I am familiar with budgets. As a court reporter, I did the budgets for Superior Court 6. I've been a bookkeeper. I worked for McCord Auto Tire Service. As the bookkeeper, I did the accounts payable, the accounts receivable, the bank statement, balancing the bank statement. I worked for the late Dan Newcastle when he had Dan's Auto Body Shop, and I kept the books for him, did the same things. So yes, I've gone over the budget, I've looked at it. The first thing that jumped out at me is, it's my #1 complaint. It's that it's not readily accessible to the layman. I'm not an accountant, I don't have a CPA degree, and I don't expect to ever have one. I have lots of bookkeeping experience, but reading the budget is like, it's as clear as mud. And so what I'd like to do is, I don't expect to change the budget in any way, shape, or form, but I think I would just like to make it more accessible to the layman. I don't know how I would do that, but I know that there's a creative solution. I know that there's a way. It may be a supplemental report to explain the budget. I don't know what that would look like, but I think it's worth a try, and I think there are creative solutions out there for that. I have resources. If I feel like I'm getting, like if I don't understand something to do with the budget, Jim Mann is the clerk treasurer of Monticello, and he's a very generous, kind soul. And he was good enough to give me an hour and a half of his time. He invited his first deputy to join us, and he gave me a load of information. I think he could develop into a wonderful resource. I also have resources like Peggy Brayton, she's the clerk treasurer of Yeoman, Pat Casterly of Camden. I think that I obviously don't have as much budget experience as the city council here and Leanne and our mayor, but I don't think it will take much for me to get up to speed.
You want to say anything?
The only thing I would clarify on that is, and it may be a misconception on everyone's part. Everyone can contribute. Department heads do. I do. Everyone does in their own way, but the budget is the mayor's responsibility. It's the mayor's budget. You talk to the State Board of Accounts, and Charlie Pride, one time when I had a complaint and he was talking to me, or to him, Charlie reminded me, it's not my budget. It's the mayor's budget. So the mayor works with all the department heads, with me, works with everyone and compiles, and then takes it to the council. The council can make adjustments, can make changes, but that's how the system is handled.
Okay. Dee? If you could change something about what is currently happening in the clerk's office, what would that be?
I don't know that I would change anything. I would try to make things, always try to improve things. So I'm a planner, and whenever I'm doing a task, what's going through the back of my mind is, how can I make it better the next time I do it? How can I make it more efficient? How can I make this information clearer, organize it in a clearer way? How can I make it faster, easier, better, whatever it is? And so I guess I just would work on just improving the systems that are in place. After I've been in office for a year or two, I suppose that I would start to change things. I would look for input from staff as to what those things would be. That's probably what I would do.
So the same question to you, Leanne. What would you change in your office? You could wave the magic wand.
New carpet. Since 2009, I've wanted new carpet in there.
But why don't you do that?
Well, because there's always other things. There's like new computers, a new server that I need. It's priorities, but I will, maybe before the end of this year, get my new carpet. I don't know.
Do it yourself.
Yeah, I'll lay it out on the weekend.
How about your inner workings with department heads and the mayor and the council?
I got terrific department heads. I have no complaints. I have very methodical department heads. I have department heads that come to me sometimes before I run reports and know there's issues or problems. They're coming to me and saying it. They're extremely careful with their budgets. You would think it was their own money, most of them are so tight. They're a pleasure to work with. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to be working for the city of Delphi.
And you are the secretary for the council.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
I get to go to all those meetings.
And how does that work? I mean, you're not in the clerk's office, you're not doing the clerk's work, except for being secretary. Is there a way to improve that, do you think?
I guess I don't know where you're going. When I have a council meeting, it's at nighttime.
Yes.
Well, granted, I work nights sometimes, but I don't always, and it isn't any different to be attending a council meeting. But isn't it any different to be attending a fire department meeting? If a special hearing's called, it's part of your job. you do it. The Board of Works doesn't start till 4:30 or 5:30. Our office closes at 4:30. There isn't any reason. But that's a requirement by code. Do I ever complain about going to all the meetings? Of course I do. Would I like to go home and put my feet up and eat bonbons and watch tennis? Of course I would. But it's part of the job. You knew it when you went in there.
Your workload has increased significantly,
From previous clerks?
from when you started.
Oh. Yeah.
Is that true? Is that a true statement?
Yes, it is.
So how have you dealt with that if you haven't brought on any more employees?
But I have. I pay overtime. I have a part-time employee. And as some of you don't know, Beth Canaan is our part-time employee. And here's the reason I keep her on. I can balance the checkbooks, and there are times I do. But I like the fact that someone who has been trained, who has been to college for it, who has been trained for that, comes in. It is another set of eyes on our books. I can tell you the checkbooks balance with the fund. And when she's done, I have to confirm that all her numbers are correct. But I think that's good for the city, for all of you to know that someone else comes in and goes through all those figures and balances. So when I tell you that all of our checkbooks, and right now we're totaling 15, when I tell you our checkbooks balance with our funds through our accounting system, it does. And I can say that without a doubt.
Dee? How would it be for you to attend all of the council meetings and keep track of that and pick up this workload? When Stellar came, there were how many grants?
There were 16 at one time.
Yeah,
total.
yeah. How do you feel like we could accommodate that kind of workload? I mean,
Well,
do you?
I would welcome the challenge, or else I wouldn't be running for the office. I know that the office is quite involved. Jim Mann made no bones about how much is involved in the clerk treasurer's job, and it is extensive. The job I'm in right now is pretty challenging. It takes a lot. You have to be on your toes all the time. We are a high volume court. I think I mentioned that we handle between 9,000 and 10,000 cases a year. We write, so Monday and Tuesday, I wrote 160 court orders or made entries. Now, I did that with the help of another court reporter, and so between the two of us, we accomplished it. The rest of the week is just about as heavy. It's a challenging job. It's challenging not only in that you have to be able to take quick notes, you have to be able to listen intently, and then write a court order that the judge will approve and sign. Not only that, but there's a lot of communication that goes on, a lot of follow-up. During these hearings, before and after these hearings, we're calling attorneys' offices, we're talking with their staff, we're arranging hearings with attorneys, public defenders, translators, prosecutors, and all on the judge's convenience on his calendar. It's a lot to juggle. We have a lot of balls in the air all day long, and it's a challenge. It's a pretty terrific job, actually. I think that with the resources that I have, the education, now my degree is not in accounting, it's in English and psychology. So maybe I can use my psychology, I don't know. But it's quite a demanding job. I don't foresee a problem.
Leanne, do you have anything to say? Any questions? Mr. Broda?
Tom Brodar, taxpayer. Using the comment as a reference in today's section about 10 years ago, it mentioned that there was a need to replace an outgoing clerk treasurer. Leanne, you step forward. I'd like the candidates to express their concern about integrity, honor, responsibility, accountability, and I think you have brought all of those to the city at a time of need. When that office was in flux, I appreciate so much that you stood forward and you anchored it down. In my mind, those are crucial components of that office. And I'd like to commend you for bringing that back to the civility, to the municipality. So 10 years ago, according to the comment, that was an issue, and you stepped forward, and every year you produce. So I like to hear from the candidates how they feel about integrity, honor, accountability. Are those features that you feel are important?
Well, of course they are, Tom. I think you can read definitions of them from a book. I think people can discuss it. But I think those things are instilled in you from the time you're a child. Your parents raised you. Those are values that come from your family. And those are values that will stay with you the rest of your life. And should. Have we brought that to that office? I think we have. I think we have. I think we've done a lot for that office. Not one individual. I think a group. A group has done it. It takes a group. What do they say? It takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes everybody at that city that we're working together to accomplish it too. And it always will if it's right.
So Dee, how would you respond to that?
Well, I live my life according to code of conduct that my parents set for me, I suppose. I set high standards for myself. I'm an honest person. I think that if you interviewed my family or friends, co-workers, acquaintances, they would tell you that I'm a person who is honest, who has integrity. I certainly try to live my life that way.
Anybody else with a question? Okay, then I think we could do the wrap up right now. And it would be, why should anybody vote for you? Tell me why you're the better candidate. Why would that be? Leanne, why don't you start? Why are you the better candidate?
I don't know though anyone should ever say they're a better candidate. Everyone has value. Everyone has worth. All of us are different. I think what probably one of the things I can say to you is you have the potential for a new mayor. You have the potential, well, not potential, you are going to have 5 new council people. If the clerk's position stays within my realm, then the guidance and the help that I can give, although I'm not part of the legislative body, but all the steps that they have to go through, it would be nice to have that experience and that knowledge to help them through those steps. The other part of it, I know earlier I said I had been raised here. So yes, other than 2 years, I lived my whole life in Carroll County and the city. The home I live in, I have been in that home since 1972. So some of you can start doing the quick math, and there's actually people here tonight that are younger than the years I have lived in my home. Now, the other part of that is, I've given you a roundabout guess to my age. But, I said earlier, there is no husband in my house, and there are no children in my house. They're grown men. There's me and the TV. I prefer to stay active. I am not ready to go to the couch. I think I still have lots to contribute. I still think I can keep up with any mayor that's there, even though they walk me to death at times. I think I can handle it, and I want to handle it, and that's the reason.
Dee?
So I lived in Carroll County since I was 9. We lived on a farm in Jefferson Township, and my parents gave me a great childhood. We went to Monticello schools because we were in the northern part of the county. Monticello schools were pretty good, no complaints there. We moved to Delphi, into the city in 1999, and we bought a little tiny house on Monroe Street. We renovated it immediately, like in the first 3 weeks, we had it all torn out. And after that, we lived in that house for about 16 years. And then we bought the house across the street, same thing. We gutted it, tore it apart, renovated it. And we're living there now, and we really like it a lot. I care about the people in Delphi. I think it's a terrific little city. I've been rural all my life. I have no desire. We did actually live in Indianapolis for 3 years. I have no desire to go back. I care about the people here. I like to be able to serve the residents of Delphi. I think I could do a terrific job. I think I take a positive, proactive approach to people and to problems. I think that's one thing that makes me valuable, that would make me a great clerk. I'm a problem solver, and I always cultivate enough resources so that any stumbling block in the road does not become a barrier to my gaining my goals. I think that was it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think this is over.